Hello, friends. Happy Saturday morning. I'm starting at 3 hours earlier. So it normally starts at 7, and then at 8, a few people start joining. So looking forward to seeing Joel Schuster in Canada. Um, Birdas Lama in Nepal. Abhishek Shukla in India. Ooh. Oh boy. Mhm. How come my face is not moving? I'm going to switch over to Zoom. What is this? What is going? Let's see what I got here going. Um, there's YouTube. Let's see. It's not playing. Hmm. Let's see. We should switch over to this channel. How's that? My face is not moving on the YouTube channel. It's frozen. Let's see. Oh, maybe I have to switch channel. Yeah, maybe I should switch channel. I'll switch over to this channel. See if that helps. Mhm. Let's see. Hmm. See my videos. Give piece of chance, 6 views. Mm-hmm. Let's see live. See where can I see live channel live videos? Well, let's see. Let's see. There I am. It's frozen. My face is frozen. Let's pause it. Start it. It's weird. Can put this close YouTube and open it again. Go to YouTube and open it. Mm. Uh-oh, iPhone storage is full. Mm. Mm. Oh boy. Am I gonna free up? Which one am I using? Mm. Which Frutoteca. Trying to figure out. Hmm. Okay. It's gonna be difficult. How about Google Photos? Hmm. Yeah. Mm. Google Photos. Okay. And am I being recorded to YouTube? Let's see. It should say recording. Let's try it again. Internet. Oh no, it is being recorded. It doesn't have the usual live symbol to YouTube. It's saying that it's being recorded. When I go to YouTube, let's see. Uh, iPhone storage is full. Let's see. Maybe it's a fake. Maybe it's shit. I don't want to. What's this say? Next Dharma. Real Swan. Let's see. There's YouTube. Oh, we go like this and there like that. So am I okay? I see my face moving. That's good. Okay. So it is being recorded live to YouTube, uh, to my channel. Wake up and think clearly. Wake up and think clearly. Hmm. Hmm. Okay, so let's see. What am I thinking? Okay, so I've been studying the Gita a bit, taking a class with the Gita that has homework due. I don't know if it's today, Saturday, or tomorrow, Sunday. So I better get on it. Hmm. So I'm going to read up on the Gita. I'm studying chapter 5. Wow. So let me share. Well, let me show you the book I'm going to be using. Uh, this handsome book for the Gita. Oops, it's upside down. It says, oh no, it wasn't upside down. It's the Bhagavad Gita by Nitya Chaitanya Yati. Okay. I'm also sometimes using this one. Where's the other one? This one over here. The Bhagavad Gita by, interesting, they put the title at the bottom. Is Radha Krishnan. With, wait, it's put it. I don't know. So, chapter 5 of the Bhagavad Gita is titled Karma Samnyasa Yoga, which can be interpreted to mean unitive action and renunciation. So, karma means unitive action, and renunciation means samnyasa. No, the title is Karma Samnyasa Yoga. Here's the key ingredient: Karma Samnyasa Yoga. Why is it yoga? Well, at the each title of each chapter in the Gita, there's 18 chapters. Each chapter always has the word yoga. So you could say that in this way of thinking of yoga, the word yoga in this case is means chapter or lesson. So each chapter is a lesson, a complete lesson given by Krishna to Arjuna, you could say. So Krishna is going to give a lesson on karma and on sannyasa. Let's take a look at how it's spelled. Let me flip my phone over. I'll show you. There's karma, the sannyasa yoga. It could refer to karma yoga and sannyasa yoga. So karma yoga is unitive action, and sannyasa yoga is renunciation. You could think of the different types of yogas. That's such a thing, but I'm just commenting on what this could mean. Uh, so I may be wrong. I may be way off. So don't listen to me. Just read with me what this chapter 5 is about. So let's find out what it is about. So this book starts with an introduction for each chapter, and then it goes into the verses, and it usually gives See the written script in the Devanagari script, and then the how the script is to be pronounced in Sanskrit, and then the Sanskrit is broken down into by words or phrases into the English, what it might be mean in English, and then the verse is translated into English, into a reasonably clear English, uh, uh, somewhat poetic or formal or nice. Mhm. And let's see, any commentary? Oh, so the commentary doesn't show up immediately. This this maybe gives a few verses and then it gives a commentary. So let's see how many verses does it take before the author gives a commentary. There's one, two, mm-hmm, three, mm-hmm, four, five, six. No commentary so far. It's just the verses. Seven, eight, 10, 11, 12. Maybe it doesn't need commentary. 10, 14, 15, 16, 17, 19. Uh, 3, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29. Okay. So there is no commentary. N- well, what this author does is he creates a dialogue, and this independent but relates to this chapter. So at the end of the Sanskrit, he gives a dialogue, and this is between a teacher and a student. So so the student maybe has questions related to this chapter, and this teacher will be answering them. Let's see how it goes. Briefly, a few exchanges here, how the dialogue goes. I don't know how long it's going to last, this dialogue. Maybe it's a few pages, maybe too many pages. Let's see. Oh, maybe it's two, three, four, maybe 6 pages of dialogue. Let's see. Let's take a look at how the dialogue goes. So the teacher says there is a complementarity. Let me read that word again. Complementarity. There is a complementarity between renunciation resulting from unitive reasoning, that is what sannyasa turns out to be, a renunciation resulting from unitive reasoning, and a performance of action with an identity of the personal self with the universal self. Karma yoga, identity, performance of action It's an identity of the personal self with the universal self. Interesting. Mhm. And a student asks, could you give me a typical example of each of these? Why, good question, might say Arjuna. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. The student says this, then this. What is this? It doesn't say teacher. So who is saying this? Let's find out. On seeing that everything is an aggregate, a dependent origination, born of desire, Gautama, the prince of Kapilavastu, became the awakened one, the Buddha. Having found nothing greater than Nibbana, the great liberation, he lived the life of a renunciate. He typifies samnyasa. Likewise, or somewhat similarly, Jesus of Nazareth found his self identity with God and guided his actions on the sense of identity expressed in the dictum, Thy will be done, and not mine. He typifies the highest form of the unitive way of action. In both these cases, everything personal, private, narrow, close, limited, or relativistic is transcended. Instead of seeing the complementarity of these two approaches, many see only the apparent contradiction between rejection and acceptance. Place these two visions of life as opposed to each other. Arjuna also is not free from such a fallacy of judgment. Fallacy of judgment. Hmm. So this the teacher and the student are having a dialogue, and here this teacher starts off, then the student asks a question, and then maybe this is the narrator of the dialogue thinking out loud, maybe explaining that this is common. Krishna is pointing out that there seems to be two mm, opposing views. To they seem to be opposed to each other. Let's see. Let's see if I can identify one view. One view has to do with renunciation resulting from unitive reasoning, and the other view is the performance of action with an identity of the personal self with the universal self. Karma Yoga. Mhm. Okay, so let me re re re-summarize this. So now the narrator is going to explain what are the opposing views. The view number one is that of a samnyasa. Samnyasa is, maybe I could define it as someone who renunciates. No, I may be not, I'm getting there, but I'm not defining samnyasa the way it should be, but I'm thinking of it in that way. That samnyasa has to do with renunciation and renunciators. So here it's giving us a typical example of a renunciator. That would be Gautama, Siddhartha, the prince of Kapalivastu, the city of Kapalivastu in Nepal. And maybe it's the capital city of the state of Shakya. Well, maybe it wasn't a state, maybe it was a county, maybe it belonged to a larger state. But it was headed by the family of Gautama. I think Gautama is their last name. And he is the prince. He was born to become the king. The king wanted him to be a good prince and take over when it was time. Mhm. So the Prince Gautama was born in a not only royal family, but a warrior kind of family. Kshatriya. Kshatriya. Okay, so why, what happened to this prince? He became a renunciate so that he could become the awakened one, the Buddha. He became a renunciate. That means he left his kingdom, his career of being, his role of being a prince and then being a king. He gave it up to become a renunciate, a person that gives up a regular, typical life, of having a family and performing duties and so on, having a social status and all that. He gave it up. So he became a renunciate. And by doing that, he had more time to pursue the highest goal. And he thought it would be nirvana, the great liberation from suffering and liberation from samsara. So, so he lived the life of a renunciate. So that typifies samnyasa, renunciation. So I think samnyasin, you end it with in instead of a, would samnyasin would mean the renunciate. The person that does the renunciation is the sannyasin, samnyasin, and renunciation is samnyasa. Mhm. So Jesus of Nazareth is the other, what seems to be opposite of renunciate. He simply self identifies with God. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So there's two, you could say there's two paths. Path, Path. There's the path of the samnyasin. I ended it with in, what makes it a person who does samnas, samnyasa, who, lives his life in the mode of a renunciate, in taking on renunciation, giving up things, hmm and a way of life, giving it up to pursue liberation. So I guess this chapter has to do with comparing the two yogas, the Samnyasa Yoga and the Karma Yoga. So the Samnyasa Yoga is exemplified by Gautama, the prince of Kapilavastu, the Shakya clan, the prince of the Shakyas. He gave it up to become a renunciate, a sannyasin. He gave it up, gave it up, gave it up, gave it up. On the other hand, there's Jesus of Nazareth. He found his self identity with God and guided all his actions. On that sense of identity expressed in the dictum, Thy will be done, not mine. Mhm. So, thy is a word, or it's a kind of English, what, from the 16 or 1700s, where they use thy and thou. Thy. It's referring to you, right? Thai, T. I wonder how they pronounced it. T will be done. To, like in Spanish, to, you, and thou, maybe tao, to. Maybe it's pronounced to. What's the difference between thy and thou? To and to. Thy will. Okay, so this is a possessive form. Thy will. But when you just talk about the person, you would say thou. Thou art beautiful, and thy beauty is extraordinary. Thy beauty. I is possessive, and thou is just looking at that person without possessions. Well, the rest of the sentence might refer to the possessions. So you wouldn't say thy art beautiful. You'd say thou art beautiful. Art, not art as in music and art, but art, A-R-T as in A-R-E, but they, for some reason, they say A-R-T. Interesting. I guess that's old, very old English. From the Old and New Testament, translated uh, in the time of King James. Maybe King James sponsored it. So that's the kind of English that's that was used in that Bible, and it's very popular still to refer to Bible verses in that kind of English. I guess you could say it's the classic Bible verse. Mm. He typifies the highest form of the unitive way of action. So Jesus typifies the highest form of the unitive way of action. So the unitive way of action is a path that leads to self-identifying with God. Mhm. So if we can self-identify with God like Jesus did, then what happens? That would be the highest form of the unitive way of action, the karma yoga. Hmm. Right? In other words, you by self-identifying with God, then one's will becomes God's will. So that's why it says, "Thy will be done, and not mine." Interesting. Mm. Let's see. Let's see if I can put this book over here. There we go. So I'm looking at the dialogue. Maybe I could put it like this. The dialogue. Teacher, there is. Wait a minute. There is a complementarity between renunciation, resulting from unitive reasoning, samyasa, and the performance of action with the identity of the personal self with the universal self. Mm. Student, could you give me a typical example of each of these? So the student asks for examples. Mhm. Let me turn to the next page just for a second. See. Mm. Mhm. Okay, I get it now. So the teacher is hmm, in this dialogue. The teacher is everything that is written in regular print, right? As opposed to italicized question or comment. So the student will will give the question or comment in italics, and this teacher will give the answer in regular print, in a regular style. So teacher starts off with, "Hey, I, you may notice that there's something going on. You may have noticed that there's something going on between renunciation and the performance of action with a with an identity of the personal self with the universal self." That's an interesting way of interpreting the word karma yoga. Karma yoga is the performance of action with an identity of the personal self with the universal self. So if I identify myself as God, then my actions will come from God, not me. Mhm. Interesting. Hmm. And where does renunciation come from? It's suggesting here that unitive reasoning causes renunciation. Unitive reasoning causes renunciation. Uh, so I'm trying to focus. Okay, so the student asks for examples, and so the first example given is that of Prince Gautama, Gautama, the Prince of Kapalivastu, ends up becoming the Buddha. How did that happen? Because he had unitive reasoning, and that led to his renunciation, which led to meditation, which resulted in his uh, realizing the nature of everything and more, to eventually becoming a Buddha, the most famous of all the Buddhas, you could say. Because from there, his teachings were preserved as the literature that today makes up the Pali Canon. Okay, so that's it. So Gautama, the Prince of Kapalivastu in Nepal, the headquarters for the Shakya clan. That prince, Gautama, became a renunciate, which led to him becoming the Buddha by way of attaining Buddhahood, enlightenment, liberation, moksha. nirvana, all those goodies. Maybe some are more impressive than others, so maybe there's a continuum about it. Hmm. Maybe Buddhahood is supposed to be the highest. Maybe there's some levels higher than that. And Buddhahood does entail having attained nirvana. Mm, Let's see. I'm getting sleepy. And I'm going to end this abruptly so I can take a nap before starting the wake up and think clearly, which maybe starts in an hour or two. I guess in 2 hours. It's probably 5 a.m. now.